Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and we're going to finish up our rankings talk of the last few weeks. End it with the tight ends, which, Jeff, I actually thought this was going to be probably the most, boring topic. Not much people would comment on it, but surprisingly, people got very upset with some of the rankings of their players here. Some of their favorite guys in my ranks. I did a top 20, actually. Some people got really upset with me. I don't know if tight end was that big of a position to debate, I guess. But who do you think? Okay, first off, I think me and you have a little bit of a disagreement, right? I go Kelce, Ertz, Kittle. You're probably going Kelce, Kittle, Ertz. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe I will be putting Kittle above Ertz next year, but I'm not going to. There's no real reason to debate that. I think right. Ertz and Kittle are kind of on that number 2 tier together.
Yeah,
Ertz is more proven, but I think Kittle definitely has the upside.
But either way, you're no reason to get upset if one of the two is ahead of the other, right?
No, I don't think
Except,
so.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this guy's name. Oh, I can't find the name, but here he goes. It says, "You on crack? George Kittle just had the best season ever, plus led the NFL in yards after catch. He's number 1.
Number 1? Well, I like the enthusiasm. He was incredibly good, and especially as a young guy with a, unproven quarterback after Garoppolo went down. There's a lot to love there. But,
best season ever. It was a good season.
Yeah, and especially, you're talking about dethroning Kelce. You're not even just talking about Ertz.
Yeah.
And taking Kelce out of number 1, that is just wishful thinking. What has he been? 1 or 2 the past 3 years, and the only time he was number 2, I believe Gronkowski was number 1, who is possibly the greatest fantasy tight end of all time. So
yep. And Kittle was great. But people George Kittle is 100% top 2. Okay, I can see why you can say that he should be top 2, but he. Ertz had. Let's see.
What was the ranking too? Are we talking PPR or no?
I can't even know the difference. I think Kittle finished ahead of Ertz in standard because of the yardage, I believe. Let me see here. I don't have the list up right now. I believe he would have finished ahead of him probably in standard. Maybe. It's probably close. But then Ertz pulled together, let's see, 28 more catches than
Right, I was going to say, Ertz in a PPR league, too, is definitely a little more credible, if you will. You never know what's going to happen with that offense, but he does catch a ton of balls. So if we're talking PPR, that adds, he is one guy that definitely gets the boost because of that.
Yep. And he actually, he had 28 more catches, but he ended up with 200 less yards. So, yeah, Kittle was getting a lot bigger plays. It was pretty impressive. But, really, honestly, I can either... I would be fine if somebody put Kittle number 1. I'm even okay with that. But 1, 2, 3, I think these guys are though by far the top 3, and it's pretty clear. I don't think you should really debate it too much. But here, let me list off the rest of my top 10 here quick. So I went Kelce, Ertz, Kittle. I went O.J. Howard at 4. I actually went David Njoku number 5. I think it's gonna be a big year for him. Hunter Henry 6. Evan Ingram 7. Eric Ebron came in 8th. Rob Gronkowski all the way down at 9. And then Austin Hooper made it in my top 10. Actually there. So, Ebron did make my top 10. I know. Probably surprising, right?
I feel like, yeah, a little bit, but he did so well last year. I think just keeping him out of the top 5 is your little FU to him.
Well, yeah, then there's some comments. Ebron should be top 5.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, Ebron top 5 with luck as a quarterback. I don't agree with this list. Said, no respect for Ebron, and I said he's the worst. So that's my reply.
Is he the one that you got the most blowback for?
He's one of the. Njoku over Ebron. That's insane. I don't know. Yeah, probably Ebron. I mean, Ebron and Kittle. Honestly, Kittle here says, I'm looking at more. There's just a lot of Kittle comments. Kittle over Ertz, and Ebron and OJ Howard should switch. Yeah, it's a lot of Ebron and Kittle are the main ones. And actually, surprisingly, the one I would say who had the next most amount of comments was Mark Andrews from Baltimore, and not making my top 20. A lot of Mark Andrews fans out there. Which, I mean, he had a pretty decent, I would say, rookie season. Let me see. Let me pull up his exact numbers. I know he had pretty good yards per catch. So he had 34 catches for 552 yards, 3 touchdowns. So 16.2 yards per catch. That's pretty solid. And I could definitely see an improvement, especially at tight end. You know, they that's a pretty decent rookie season for a tight end. They usually don't come out and just set the world on fire. But top 20 already for Mark Andrews? I don't think so. I mean,
yeah, what I don't like about that too is you're assuming. I mean, you're talking top 20 in tight end, so you know, I don't know. There's a lot of good names on the list that you have, but you know, they also have Hurst, right? Who they drafted actually higher than Andrews, and he was hurt a lot last year. So how is he going to play in? You have obviously the rookie quarterback, which, you know, depending on who he really vibes with. There's definitely so many questions marks there. I would have a hard time rushing to that judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put him top 20. Shoot, I might. I don't even think I don't feel like he's draftable. There's enough guys. I don't think you need to.
And when you're talking that Ebron and Gronk are at the end of your top 10, and last year tight end was in a very, very thin position to say the least. But you do get a lot of guys back from injury, which definitely helps out. And, you know, you're not usually rostering 2 guys. So, you know, are you really drafting someone like Mark Andrews? Very unlikely.
And somebody else wrote about Ebron again. It says, you sound like a salty Lions fan.
Well,
don't let bias blind you.
That is the truest of the...
makes you seem less credible. I don't care.
So that's your blatant hatred right there.
I don't care. It's whatever.
I don't actually hate that ranking, to be honest, with Ebron though.
You should have a healthy Jack Doyle next year, and because of that, just that alone, I feel like could drop Ebron a little bit. And he was so touchdown dependent. He had 66 catches for 750 yards. That really wasn't that much different than what he did with the Lions. I mean, with the Lions, okay, in 2016, he had 61 catches for 711. So last year he had 66 catches for 750. There's barely a difference there. It's all about the touchdowns. And touchdowns can go up and down. 13 this year, that's huge.
Oh yeah, that's a monster season. It really is.
It's such a touchdown dependent season he had. So yeah, it's really if you look at those numbers, it's not like he was that much better than his Detroit days. Oh shoot, that season in 2016 where he had that 61 catches for 711, he did that in 13 games. He did this past year. He had 16. So yeah, it's all those touchdowns. Will they always go to Ebron? I just don't feel like that's something that can be sustained.
Yeah, 13 is definitely on the high end too. So even if he gets into double digits, and you're talking, what did he end the year at? Number 4, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
So he ended at number 4, and you had that monster year. So even if you go down 3, not to mention OJ Howard looked like he could have competed with him if he would have stayed healthy. That's one. Hunter Henry is coming back, which I think is an uber talented guy on a good offense. Ingram had a down year. So, on this ranking, you could easily put him, if you wanted to put him 5, I think that would probably be about where a lot of people have him. But I think 8 is ranking him, relatively fine. I would probably rank him at number 7. I would probably have Ingram right below him. But I don't think it's anything that crazy. Ebron hasn't shown any sort of pattern of stability yet. But he does have a whole lot of, talent, and if that offense keeps going the way they are, Yeah, he definitely could be in that top 5 discussion again. He should be if they're going to throw it to him like that. But that is a lot of touchdowns to recreate. And how many times do we see people fall off in a huge way when it comes down to touchdown production?
Yep. It's tough to do that. I mean, if he does it again, sure. But then then you can start to expect it a little bit. But it's happened to so many players where they've had this one huge touchdown season and they never did it again. So I got to see another one before I believe it's even possible. But here's a talk about Gronk, who I put 9th. I don't know how you think about that one. You think he should be higher than that, or?
That's a tough one, and it's not so much. He looked good in the playoffs, but he was hobbled all year, and he still put up, enough to be relevant. But in my mind right now, I feel like he's done. I feel like he's ready to hang it up. Maybe he sticks around for one more title, but he's not the same player. He can't take the durability risk anymore. So I just don't think he's as big of a part of the game plan. He just worries me too much. So it's not so much that do I think that he's going to finish, number 9 if he's healthy for a year. I think he'll be higher than that. But am I taking that chance because of his back? Because I don't, really think his heart is in it anymore? Nah, I'm probably not.
But I would gladly take him as like the 9th tight end, though.
Right. I think this is a place where I would take him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's kind of when you talk about the rankings, you can either say, hey, this is where I think they're actually going to finish, or this is where I would take that person. Yep. This is the latter of that.
Next, somebody did write about Gronk. He said, Gronk, do you even know who he is? He should be way higher. But
I mean, that's a good point. He's the greatest tight end to ever play the game, perhaps, and definitely the best fantasy. So,
some other comments about Vance McDonald. People think Vance McDonald should have been my top 20. He didn't quite make my top 20. I don't know. I mean,
let's see what happens with that offense or that team first.
Yep. And somebody wrote that I did Cook dirty. Jared Cook. I put number 11.
Jared Cook is definitely a love and hate for me. He'll have some big games, but
that's the thing with Jared Cook. You end up looking at like just the end of the year and where he ends up ranked, and it's probably higher. But if you go and actually look at his games, there are a lot more weeks where you got nothing from him. I can't trust Jared Cook. It's so hard to figure out which matchup he's going to be good in. So here we go. Last year, he had a couple big games. He had a 9 for 180. He had a 8 for 110 with 2 touchdowns. He had a game of 7 for 100 and a touchdown, 7 for 116, no touchdowns. And then there's a 4 for 74 and a touchdown. So what's that? Four really big games, 1 decent game, right? Here's his other games. 4 for 49, 5 for 31, 4 for 20, 2 for 10, 2 for 20, 4 for 52, 3 for 31, 2 for 32, 2 for 23, 2 for 20, 3 for 28. It's really bad. That's how can you? I'd take Mark Andrews over him. I feel like I need to adjust my ranking.
Yeah, he always whenever we talk about Cook, he is definitely a very athletic guy, and people kind of fall in love with him. Heaven knows a couple years ago I kind of did, but he's always a guy that I'm willing to stream when I need him because he's capable of those big games. But if you do have him for an entire year, he's never been able to put that together. And so he's just never really worth picking up unless you're taking someone incredibly late. So, it's tough because you're right. The ranking is always going to look better than what he really is because he's going to have those few big games. But if you aren't playing him the entire year and in order to get those games, he almost serves very little to no value.
Yeah, it really, really does. It's tough to. You're going to miss out most weeks with him. But now looking at some of the other guys I have who, some of the bigger names are falling down for me now. Like Greg Olsen at 14, he's just too many injuries. If he's back another year, I don't know if you can't trust him. Kyle Rudolph at 16. Jordan Reed's down at 18 now. I'm just done with Jordan Reed. completely.
Yeah,
I got this slight weird, like, undervalued thing with him last year where I'm like starting, he's completely under the radar. I started using him, and then he got hurt and put up a 0 when I needed him the most. And Jordan Reed showed up again right there. That's what happened. God, I can't believe I picked him up on the waivers and I started to actually use Jordan Reed again. It was the stupidest decision I've ever made.
It's kind of the curse of having a thin position and at tight end. So you start looking for talent that is definitely there, but they haven't, either proven it or they haven't returned to it. Jordan Reed's case, he never got over his injuries. I get it, though. I totally understand reaching in order to find that guy, because who else were you going to go and pick up in the tight end position last year? It was so thin.
But the funny thing is, this year it actually feels like there's more players when I'm looking at the list. But last year, so many of them got hurt and just weren't performing, And this year's really
kind of worries me.
It's hoping that O.J. Howard is healthy and makes that jump like we think. David Njoku, he's only going to be 23 years old when the season starts. I think he could make that jump. But you need those guys to make the jump for this position to be actually, have a lot of depth to it. And Hunter Henry too. You need Hunter Henry. You need Howard. You need Njoku. You need Hunter Henry. You need Evan Ingram. You need those guys to actually be really good players.
Yeah. Well, the good thing
that changes
the good thing about Njoku is we believe that he has a QB that is going to keep improving, and I think that will help him out a ton. I really do worry about Evan Ingram after seeing Eli taking another step backwards, if you will. It seems like he's at the end of his career, and Evan Ingram actually suffering last year as well, having that kind of sophomore slump. It just kind of worries me in general, because how are they going to, and not to mention Barkley was a beast, and you have Odell Beckham. So and Sterling Shepard is no slouch either. So you have a lot of mouths to feed while your quarterback is already, not doing that great. Well, so it does worry me that Evan Ingram isn't going to get the volume he needs in order to get back to where we think he can be.
I think Evan Ingram is Odell dependent. He's dependent on Odell not being there.
Right. Because he did it huge when Odell was hurt during Evan Ingram's rookie season.
Well, and then the last 3 games of this past season, Odell was out and he went 8 for 75, 6 for 87, and 5 for 81 in a touchdown after doing nothing all year. And Odell's out and he looked pretty good again.
That's big. There's, like I said, just too many mouths to feed.
Yeah, really, it seems to be, before that, his first, let's see, how many games? He played in 11 games last year. So in his first, let's see here, the first 8 games he played, he had a total of 35 targets for the first 8 games. About 35, 36 targets, something like that. In those last 3 games without Odell, he had 26 in just 3. It's just, so that's what was going on. The more I'm thinking about that one, it was completely his rookie year. There was no Odell. His last 3 games where I started to think he's good again, it's no Odell. I don't think they can coexist.
You might be right, and that would be too bad.
I don't know for sure. It feels tough there. I don't know if Eli can support that. This team should be good, right? Odell, Saquon, Evan Ingram. Even Sterling Shepard as a 2 is not a bad second receiver.
Oh, no, they should. Their offense should be very good now with Saquon. But, I don't know. I don't want to hit on Eli too much. Heaven knows he's won, 2 Super Bowls?
True.
But they just didn't look like a winning team last year. And I know it wasn't just Eli. There was a lot going on. I don't know. You worry about the other side of it as well, as maybe an uber talented team like that just has the personalities that, will eat each other. And you talk about kind of like the Des Bryant T.O. effect. Is Odell kind of that guy? Is that team just going to continuously let everyone down?
Yeah. They need to draft a quarterback now this year. There's no screwing around anymore.
Yeah, do you like one of the quarterbacks in the draft this year?
Not really.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray, maybe. That's about. I just think he.
You don't like Haskins?
No, because he's from Ohio State.
I was gonna say, is that the Michigan fan in you?
Honestly, though, it's not just that. There's something I just don't think. I don't know. I just don't feel like he's that great. I just don't see it. Maybe I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I don't get that feeling.
I mean, it's very difficult to tell with quarterbacks.
It is. I mean, I could be so wrong on that one. I don't quite see it. And then, Kyler Murray is interesting to me. He really is. I don't know if it can translate to the NFL, but he was really good in college. So
I mean, he was, but so was Haskins. Is the Kyle Murray thing? Does the emergence of Casey's gunslinger and his baseball background does that enter your mind a little bit with Kyler?
I think it's just
Kyle Murray, Kyle Fuller.
Murray. He's such a different. Players like him never made it in the NFL as a quarterback before, so it's just so interesting to me and see if he get maybe 5'8", 5'9". No one like him has ever been a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe Flutie was really short, wasn't he?
I think Flutie was short. Breeze is considered short at what, 6 foot?
He's 6 foot. Yeah,
yeah,
he would be incredibly small for the position now, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, he does have a lot of these kind of intangible things you can't really teach.
Well, and that was part of it with Baker Mayfield. People were saying he's too short. He's listed at like 6'1".
Yeah. Well, they said that about Russell Wilson too. Like, I feel like you almost go down the line, but Murray is definitely shorter than all those guys.
He's listed as 5'10". So he's probably 5'8".
He's like 5'5".
I know how that works.
Yeah.
In our high school basketball program, I was listed as like 6 foot, but I don't know if I've ever quite hit 6 foot. I think it's more. You always have to round up at least a little bit. Give yourself at least 1 inch, right? 5'11".
You gotta.
But I don't know. I hope he gets drafted number 1. I think it'd be interesting. Goes to Arizona. They just get rid of Josh Rosen. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
No, but I really like the Giants.
Pretty wild to get rid of.
I'd like the Giants to get him. I think that would be cool. The Giants to get one of those guys.
I think they have to. I mean,
you got to try it out.
Oh yeah, you have to go for it. If you believe in a guy, you definitely have to. Because also, how many times I know a lot of people are drafting quarterbacks and throwing them right into the fire, but it's not like you're winning that first year. And how many years does it take to get them up to speed compared to if you can ride Eli out for another year or so?
Yep.
If I was a organization, I would much rather go the Aaron Rodgers route than the name one, Jamarcus Russell route.
God.
I mean,
yeah. But all right, I think that's gonna do it for our tight end / NFL draft quarterback episode. It's off season, right? But all right, that'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next week.